For the child who has experienced abuse, they are in a persistent state of fight or flight. Even when there is no external threat or demand, they are in a physiological state of alarm. For children who have not experienced abuse, they may encounter an increased anxiety by facing a new challenge. For the child who's experienced abuse, they will react with fear and terror because they have never experienced the world as a safe place. Children who live in a state of fear retrieve information differently from the world than children who feel calm. The traumatized child is perpetually aroused, ill-prepared to learn from social, emotional, or other life experiences. They are living in the minute. They fail to be able to evaluate actions and consequences. For children who have experienced abuse, they may not perform in terms of their chronological functions, in terms of physical, social, cognitive, or emotional skills. A 10-year-old child may have the speech and language of a 7-year-old, social skills of a 5-year-old, self-regulation skills of a 2-year-old. Their brain may be in hyper-alert because for them, survival depends on it. For reasons of privacy and ethics, children that we see cannot stand here in front of you today and talk of their pain and their ongoing journey towards recovery. And I know you would not expect that of them. So I therefore stand here before you as the storyteller, so you may come to feel a sense of their lives and their journey. This story I will tell you about today is one of thousands that are out there, waiting to be told, waiting to be heard, waiting to be acted upon to bring about healing and to endeavour to stop a repetition. This story is a story of tragedy and also of hope. It is a story of two of our children, two sisters, Madison and Kirsty, who were abused whilst in their mother's care. Madison was 12 and Kirsty was 9 when the abuse first occurred. Their mother regularly prostituted herself to maintain her drug habit. But when the demand for her services diminished, she took to prostituting her children. Both girls were bright, cheerful, energetic children prior to the abuse. Despite living in a home that often didn't have enough food or heating or love, because the material and the emotional assets of the parent went to her drug habit. Both girls went to school, had a group of friends, but had a especially strong bond for each other. Madison was repeatedly raped by her mother's guests up to 3 times a week, often occurring in the same bedroom that she slept with her sister Kirsty. Kirsty was frequently a witness to the brutal assaults on her sister. Madison did as she was told because she loved her mother, who told her she needed her heroin fix. Madison also sought to protect her little sister, telling her, "Keep very quiet. Don't bring attention to yourself." This worked in the main until eventually Kirsty too was raped. Each morning after they had a visitor, the girls would wake to find their mother passed out on the couch and money left on the bedside table. Their innocence, their childhood fetched, was $50 a visit. Kirsty's traumatic reaction to her initial rape at the age of 10 was the catalyst for Madison to take action. She grabbed her sister as much food and clothing as she could, and she took to the streets. Madison, who was by this time so distraught by her experiences, so traumatized by what she'd had to do, turned to drugs at a young age and her behavior spiraled. She was placed in a foster home, but she bounced from placement to placement to placement, struggling to get rid of the memories from her head, struggling to find safety, struggling to get rid of the pictures from her mind. Madison was a lost child, and she took to the streets again. Kirsty came to Parkerville at the age of 10 in 2009. She too was all alone, separated from her sister. She too was consumed by the horrors of the memories of her sexual abuse. It took a year for Kirsty to settle into life at Parkerville, living in a home with 3 children and employee carers, surrounded by a team of clinicians. In that first year, she regressed. She was frequently suspended from school. She lost weight. She lost friends. She had difficulty interacting with adults. Her carers were persistent. despite the physical and verbal abuse and the emotional turmoil of experiencing a child's pain. 3 years on, Kirsty has moved into a community placement. She's now part of a loving family. She attends a new school, has a new group of friends. A Parkerville psychologist and social worker attend to her and her family's needs. Kirsty's experiences are in the far reaches of her mind, but there is hope for the future. Sadly, Madison has lost touch with her sister, perhaps on the same pathway as her mother, a tragic young life lost by the selfish action of a trusted adult. This tragedy is twofold: that the event even occurred in our community, which we uphold as the benchmark for others, and that despite rescuing Madison once, we could not provide her with the resources that she needed. And yet there lives hope. The hope that will cling to Kirsty, that her life can be mended despite its tragic beginnings. And the hope that our staff live with day in, day out, that they can reclaim back the lives of many more Kirstys. So many children that we see live with fear in one hand and hope in the other. Our mission is to nurture the hand that holds hope, because we know the capacity for healing amongst children is enormous. It is important that you understand that the brain altered in destructive ways by abuse and neglect can be altered in reparative healing ways, and the damage can be reversed. We believe that every child in this world should have at least one adult who, when they enter the room, lights up the eyes of that child. Sadly, for the children that we see, their eyes don't always light up when an adult enters a room. Indeed, for many of them, their eyes only express fear. It is an indictment on our society that children can suffer the horrors of child sexual abuse and elect to remain silent because they fear and mistrust the reaction of those around them. In essence, they live in fear of the offender and in fear of other adults. It is worth noting that offenders rely on the ignorance and apathy of the community to conceal their crimes. It is the best insurance policy against detection they have. Apathy can be appealing and attractive to a community because apathy asks nothing of the bystander. Apathy asks nothing of us. That is why your willingness to become conscious and aware of the issues of child abuse is so important. You are not responsible for what occurred to those children, but you do want to help. You do want to make a difference. That is why you are here today. And with the greatest of respect to our comedian Darren and our iconic cricketing star Glenn, today, as always, is all about the children. In the past 8 years that we've been on this journey together, you have enabled us to create more assessment and treatment centres, to build units for homeless young women who've been sexually abused, to create and build Australia's first child advocacy centre, to establish early intervention and prevention programs in 13 schools, and to increase our capacity to care for children from 200 a year to 1,200 a year. You have enabled us to light up the eyes and take away the fear of so many children. Your contribution, your support has been awesome. We could not have done it without you, and we sincerely thank you. But we've only just begun. We ask you to continue to support the work we do. Together, let us give care and hope to more wounded children. Let us advocate for their needs, and let us ensure that child abuse is abolished from our society and lives only in the annals of history and not in the lives of our children. Enjoy your afternoon.